I don't think you can ever really know someone, not even after you've spent years loving them, building with them, sacrificing for them. When I met Ava, she was struggling to get a handmade skincare line off the ground. She had a passion for natural products, but no clue how to market them. I was already running a modest but successful tech startup, mostly web infrastructure, ad automation, SEO work. I offered to help, no strings attached. That was always our dynamic. I handle the back end, she brings the charm and hustle. I designed her site, connected payment systems, built her email funnel, ran ad campaigns, and optimized everything to AT. Her Etsy traffic jumped overnight, and within 6 months she had a full Shopify site and was fulfilling bulk orders. I even hosted the site on my own platform, under my business plan, mostly because it was easier, faster, and cheaper. Ava always said she'd take over the admin stuff later. She never did. I didn't push it. We moved in together after a year, got engaged shortly after that. I genuinely believed we were partners, not just in love, but in life. I felt proud watching her grow, watching people rave about her products. I'd walk into the kitchen and see her hand-mixing masks, oils, scrubs, and it felt like we were building an empire together. Even if my name wasn't on the label, I felt like part of it. But somewhere in that second year, things changed. It was little stuff at first. Ava started saying she needed more space emotionally, not physically. She'd cancel date nights, say she was too stressed or busy. She snapped easily. Anytime I brought up something we needed to discuss, bills, the wedding budget, even her website analytics, she'd get cold. Like I was a burden. One night, I came home from a late meeting to find her packing an overnight bag. "I'm going to Mandy's for a few days," she said without looking up from her phone. "What? Why?" "I need to clear my head. You've been overwhelming lately." I just stood there, blinking. I asked her if we could at least talk before she left. She told me to stop being dramatic and walked out the door. That was the first time it really hit me that something was off. But I didn't want to give up. I still believed we were in a rough patch. Every couple hits one, right? A few weeks later, we sat down for dinner, one of those rare moments where we both made the time. I asked her, carefully, if she still wanted to get married. She looked at me like I was an idiot. "Of course," she said. "I've just been under a lot of pressure." She even hugged me that night. Said she was grateful for everything I'd done for her, especially the website stuff. I clung to that. Stupidly. The very next week, we had a fight. It started over nothing. I think I asked if she'd followed up with a vendor for the wedding. She said I was micromanaging. I said I was just trying to help. It escalated fast. She accused me of being controlling, too involved in her business, always reminding her what she owed me. I reminded her that she did owe me, legally, in fact. I told her, not unkindly, that her site was under my account, that I'd covered thousands in hosting, dev work, at Spend. Not because I expected payback, but because I believed in her. That was the first time she ever called me manipulative. She left again that night, and the next morning, I got a text. Just one line. "Wedding's off. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the business stuff." That was it. No explanation. No apology. No discussion. I sat there staring at the message, waiting for my chest to cave in. But instead, I just felt numb, cold, like someone flipped a switch. I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into my hosting dashboard. I hovered over her domain name for a full minute. Her site, her store, all her product pages, they were nested inside my infrastructure. Paid for by me. Owned by me. Even the emails ran through my servers. She'd had so many chances to transfer ownership. I even reminded her once, half-jokingly, "Hey, you should probably take this off my hands before we ever fight and break up." She laughed, said we'd never break up. But here we were. So I clicked suspend. The entire site vanished. No warning, no countdown timer, no redirect page. Just gone. I wasn't trying to be vindictive. I didn't redirect her traffic somewhere nasty or leak anything private. I just turned off the faucet. And I didn't hear a word from her for 2 full days. Until day 3, when the panic started. First it was a text. "Hey, I think something's wrong with the website. Can you check?" Then, "I just lost 2 brand deal contracts. They said my links were broken." Then, "Please call me. It's urgent." She tried calling 6 times that afternoon. Left voicemails, sent voice notes. She even messaged my assistant. By sunset, she sent a last message. "Can you please just restore everything? Just for a little while? I'll handle the transfer. Just give me some time." That one. I stared at for a long time. She wasn't sorry for the breakup. She wasn't sorry for the coldness, or the betrayal, or how she weaponized lawyers instead of words. She was just sorry she lost her lifeline. And me? I didn't feel like saving her anymore. I didn't answer Ava's message. Not because I wanted to hurt her. I'd already spent the last 72 hours sifting through the shards of a relationship I thought was bulletproof. But her timing, her tone, everything about it reeked of desperation, not remorse. And honestly, that's what made it worse. She didn't want me back. She wanted the infrastructure, the traffic, the sales, the digital oxygen I'd been supplying behind the scenes for almost 2 years. I was never the brand to her, just the pipes under the sink. Replaceable, invisible, only noticed when things stopped working. I left her on read, but I didn't stop thinking about her. The night after she messaged me, I scrolled through old photos. Us at the beach. Her mixing avocado clay in our kitchen, laughing with green goop smeared on her nose. Her texting clients while I packed boxes for her soft launch. Every version of Ava I loved was still somewhere in those pixels. But the woman who texted me, "I'll have my lawyer contact you," like we were strangers in a boardroom? I didn't know her. The next morning, I got an email, subject line, "Urgent request regarding domain," from a brand rep Ava had worked with. She was supposed to be part of a big promotional rollout for a national beauty box subscription. According to the rep, her website had unexpectedly gone offline, and they were requesting a quick fix to minimize contractual disruptions. She looped me in, CC'd under my full name like I was her employee or something. I stared at that email for a long time. You know what hit me the hardest? Not that she ran to corporate to pressure me. Not that she clearly didn't even warn them the site might go down. It was the tone. Polished. Professional. Cold. Like I was a vendor. A tool. Just a switch that needed flipping. I replied with one line. "This domain and all hosting services are legally owned by my company, and we are no longer in partnership with the brand." I signed it with my company name. No signature. No sentiment. She called me 15 minutes later. I didn't pick up. She called again. Then FaceTimed. I watched the screen light up. Her name still saved under Ava Seedling with a little green sprout emoji. I didn't have the strength to delete it yet. But I wasn't picking up, either. A minute later, a voicemail. Her voice sounded strained. Like she'd been crying. "Hey, I'm not gonna yell or accuse or anything. I know things have been bad, but please, just restore the site. Clients are furious. I'm bleeding money, and look, I'll make everything right, okay? I'll even pay for all the hosting fees and stuff. Just don't do this. Please." I listened to it 3 times. She said please, but never sorry. There's a difference. That evening, one of her former customers DM'd me. She must have dug through the WHOS registry or her order confirmations. She was sweet, just asking where she could reorder a face oil she loved. That message hurt more than anything, because I realized Ava had something real. She had built something, and I'd helped her build it. Not because I wanted equity, not because I wanted control, but because I believed in her. I should have made her take full ownership months ago, but I didn't, because I trusted her. And she threw that trust away with a single text. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail from a lawyer. Not Ava's lawyer, mine. He's been my guy for years, helped me set up my company. He said someone had contacted him asking for urgent mediation regarding digital assets in a terminated engagement. Her new counsel. He didn't even know we broke up until that point. His advice was simple. If she never took ownership and there's no paper trail transferring rights, it's still yours. She can't force a handover unless there's a legal contract in place. There isn't. You're in the clear. Morally, that's your call. So I sat on it. A full week passed. Ava stopped calling. Stopped texting. I figured maybe she moved on. Found someone else to help. But then, a post showed up on my radar. A mutual friend tagged me in a story without realizing I'd see it. Ava, on Instagram Live, crying, saying she'd been sabotaged by someone she trusted, that her website was taken down without warning, that her business was under attack from someone who couldn't handle a breakup like an adult. My stomach turned. She framed herself as the victim, said she was working with lawyers to get everything back. She even threw in a line about how she'd always known I was possessive. Possessive. That's what she called me after I paid for her launch, built her systems, protected her data, answered tech support calls at 1 a.m. while she slept soundly. It made my blood boil. I wanted to go live myself. Tell the truth. show the receipts. But I didn't. Instead, I did something else. I logged into the back end of the site. I archived everything, exported her customer data and order history, zipped the files. Then I created a temporary URL and emailed it to her from my company account. No message, no signature, just a link, expiring in 48 hours. A few minutes later, I got a single email back. Thank you. That was it. No apology. No acknowledgement of what she'd said publicly. Just, thank you. The next day, her site came back online. New domain. New layout. Slower, clunkier, but functional. She posted a smiling photo, said she was starting over with a renewed sense of purpose. I haven't spoken to her since, but I did notice something interesting. A month after everything settled, a new skincare line popped up in my Facebook ads. Different name, different logo, but the site? Almost identical to the one I built her. Almost. Except this time, someone else was listed as the owner in the WHOS registry. She'd finally learned to register a domain. I guess that's one thing I taught her after all. About a month after I sent Ava the backup files, things finally went quiet. No more emails. No more calls. No sudden urgent messages from brand reps. For the first time in over a year, my life was mine again. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still checking in on her quietly from a distance. I saw her new site go live. Slower than mine, less polished, but she was posting again. Smiling selfies, captioned with things like "Some storms clear your path." That kind of thing. Carefully curated optimism. But what she didn't post, what she couldn't, was that her audience was pissed. She'd vanished for almost 2 weeks without explanation. And when she finally came back, she offered some vague nonsense about technical disruptions and replatforming. But people weren't buying it. I saw the Reddit threads, the Facebook group messages. Her customers weren't just annoyed, they felt abandoned. Some had prepaid for subscription boxes that never arrived. Others were influencers who had unpaid promos still sitting in drafts. A few accused her of being a scammer. The part that really got me was one comment someone posted under her relaunch announcement. This feels like when someone crashes the car they borrowed and then blames the road. It got over 700 likes before she deleted the whole thread. Ava tried to play it off like she was rebranding, like this was some big intentional shift in direction. But she couldn't hide the drop in engagement, or the fact that a ton of her most loyal buyers never came back. And here's the kicker. She didn't just rebuild her site, she copied most of my back-end structure. I recognized the exact funnel sequence, the order of pages. Even the language I'd written for her original FAQs was barely changed. I knew because I'd written all of it myself 2 years ago, during a weekend binge of Red Bull and pizza. She hadn't even tried to pretend otherwise. It was surreal, watching her recycle my work while pretending she'd leveled up. She posted about cutting ties with toxic energy while quoting copy I'd written word for word. But whatever. I wasn't interested in starting a war. That changed when a friend from my industry, a guy I'd known since college, forwarded me something with a subject line that made my blood run cold. "Bro, she's using your portfolio deck." At first, I thought he meant the website. But no. Attached was a pitch deck Ava had sent to a wellness tech startup. It was part of a grant application she'd submitted, hoping to win funding for a new line of sustainable beauty innovations. Half the deck, including the design slides, site traffic stats, and technical achievements, were mine. She hadn't even swapped out my screenshots. One slide literally said back-end optimization provided via my company name systems. She was trying to pass it off as her work. I stared at the file for a long time. My chest felt tight. This wasn't just bad judgment. This was theft. She'd taken 2 years of my development, my design, my data, and repackaged it for a grant proposal. For money. I didn't respond to her. I didn't send a warning. I sent a takedown notice directly to the company. 2 days later, I got a reply. "Thank you for your documentation. The grant application in question has been disqualified. We appreciate your professionalism." I didn't celebrate. I just felt tired. But Ava? She blew up. She sent me a string of texts that night, full of venom. "You're so pathetic. You always wanted me to fail. This was my idea. You just made it look good. I hope you're proud of yourself, ruining something I actually believed in." I didn't respond. I just watched as she spiraled, first deleting her angry posts, then issuing some cryptic apology on Instagram about people not supporting her growth. Within a week, the new site was down again. No announcement this time. Just a 404 error. I assumed she'd finally given up, but I was wrong. 2 months later, I got a notification on LinkedIn. Ava had a new job, head of product development at a skincare startup in Austin. Not her own brand, not her empire, just another employee. It was a small company, one I'd actually done some freelance work for back in the day. And here's the kicker. She listed founder and CEO of old brand name on her resume. Under accomplishments, scaled to 6 figures in annual revenue through proprietary e-commerce and SEO systems. That part I couldn't ignore. Because the proprietary system? That was mine. My software. My back-end tools. And she had never, ever had the rights to claim them as hers. I called a friend who still worked at that company, quietly, off the record. He said Ava had crushed her interview. Showed off charts, analytics, branding work. Said she was instrumental in growing her company from scratch. Wasn't that all you? He asked, laughing awkwardly. Most of it, I said. All of it, honestly. He paused. You want me to say something? I thought about it. I could have blown the whole thing up. Sent the deck. The receipts. The takedown notice. But I didn't. No, I told him. Let them figure it out on their own. Because here's what I realized. I didn't need revenge. She was going to expose herself eventually, not because she's evil, but because she can't stop taking credit for things she didn't do. That kind of ego always burns out. And me? I rebuilt everything I'd given her better. Cleaner. Sharper. I launched a client-facing version of the system I built for Ava, licensed it, and made more in 1 quarter than her entire store made in a year. I never said her name publicly. Never posted the screenshots. Never dragged her. I just moved on. But I'll admit, there was one last thing I did. Late one night, I logged into the old analytics dashboard I'd used for her original site. She never changed the access settings, even after everything. There it was, the final traffic spike. The last real wave of buyers. Right before I pulled the plug. The timestamp? 6:17 p.m. Same night she ended our engagement by text. She was still profiting off me even as she kicked me out of her life. I hit log out. Permanently. A full year passed. 12 months of quiet. No texts. No voicemails. No late-night emails begging for access. Ava disappeared from my feed, my inbox, and eventually my thoughts. That's not to say I didn't think about her. I did. Not in that heartsick, gut-punched way like before, but in the way you remember a fire after rebuilding the house. You walk through a room and wonder, for just a second, how close the flames came to burning everything down. During that year, my company took off. After licensing the back-end system I'd built for Ava's site, I branded it as a full product suite, turnkey e-commerce for solo entrepreneurs. Clean UX, embedded SEO, modular plugins. I called it Emberstack. It felt poetic. Ava once told me I was obsessed with control. Now I was giving other people control, the kind she never valued, and charging them for it. I gained 12 new clients in the first quarter. One of them was a small organic wellness brand in Portland, run by 2 sisters. They reminded me of Ava in the early days, minus the entitlement. They listened. They paid on time. They actually thanked me. That was all I ever wanted, to feel seen, not used. But one afternoon, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It went a voicemail. I checked it later that night. Her voice hit me like a punch to the chest. Hey, it's me. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I figured I'd try. There was a long pause. She exhaled shakily. I got let go last week. From the startup. They said they were restructuring, but I know the truth. I wasn't. Enough. Not without your systems. Not without the stuff you used to handle. I tried to fake it, but I couldn't scale. I thought I could learn fast enough, and I didn't. Another pause. I'm not asking for anything. I swear. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For the way I ended it. For using your work. For treating you like a resource instead of a person. You didn't deserve that. You gave me everything, and I didn't see it. Or maybe I did, and that scared me. I sat there, frozen. I know you won't respond, she said quietly. And that's okay. I just needed you to hear it. Even if it's too late. Click. I played that voicemail once, then deleted it. Not out of spite. Not even out of anger. Out of peace. I didn't want her voice in my archives. I didn't need it lingering. Some apologies aren't for reconciliation. They're for release. She never followed up. Never emailed. Never messaged me again. But the world is small, and a few months later, her name popped up in my inbox, not from her, but through an automated LinkedIn newsletter. People you may know. Her title? Freelance branding consultant. Available for hire. No company. No brand. No website. Just Ava, back at square one. Meanwhile, Emberstack was being scouted for acquisition by a mid-sized SaaS firm. I was fielding offers I never imagined 2 years ago. I'd made it, and not because I was ruthless, or vengeful, or lucky. Because I kept building. Quietly. While she burned every bridge she stood on. And here's the truth no one tells you. Some people will love what you give them until they forget they never built it themselves. And when you take it away, even if you have every right, they won't remember the help. They'll remember the hole. I didn't burn Ava's business down. I just took back what was mine. She lit the match all on her own.